Good morning and welcome back to the Elliott Church. I wanted to welcome today Adam. This is an out of pulpit Sunday for Adam, and we are delighted to welcome Devin Shmueli back to the Elliott Church. He has come a few other times in the past. So Devin will be preaching this morning, and we do have coffee hour after in the ladies' parlor, and I encourage people to come up because there's food that I don't want to take home. So thank you.
All right, our call to worship this morning comes from How the Light Comes In by Jan Richardson. I cannot tell you how the light comes. What I know is that it is more ancient than imagining, that it travels across an astounding expanse to reach us, that it loves searching out what is hidden, what is lost, what is forgotten or in peril or in pain, that it has a fondness for the body, for finding its way toward flesh, for tracing the edges of form, for shining forth through the eye, the hand, the heart. I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will, that it works its way into the deepest dark and that enfolds you. Though it may seem long ages in coming or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. And so may we this day turn ourselves toward it. May we lift our faces to let it find us. May we bend our bodies to follow the arc it makes. May we open and open more, and open still to the blessed light that comes. us join together and sing Wake Now My Senses, number 298 in the gray hymnal.
Join me in reciting the covenant. In the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and service of all.
A reading from Samuel, chapter 1, verses 4 through 20. On the day when Elkanah sacrificed, he would give portions to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, though the Lord had closed her womb. Her rival used to provoke her severely to irritate her because the Lord had closed her womb. So it went on year by year. As often as she went up to the house of the Lord, she used to provoke her. Therefore Hannah wept and would not eat. Her husband Elkanah said to her, "Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? Why is your heart sad? Am I not more to you than 10 sons?" After they had eaten and drunk at Shiloh, Hannah rose and presented herself before the Lord. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat beside the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. She was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. She made this vow, "O Lord of hosts, if only you will look on the misery of your servant and remember me and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a male child, then I will set him before you as a Nazirite until the day of his death. He shall drink neither wine nor intoxicants, and no razor shall touch his head." As she continued praying before the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was praying silently. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk. So Eli said to her, "How long will you make a drunken spectacle of yourself? Put away your wine." But Hannah answered, "No, my lord, I am a woman deeply troubled. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord." Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman, for I have been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation all this time." Then Eli answered, "Go in peace. The God of Israel grant the petition you have made to him." And she said, "Let your servant find favor in your sight." Then the woman went her way and ate and drank with her husband, and her countenance was sad no longer. They rose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord. Then they went back to their house at Ramah. Elkanah knew his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. In due time Hannah conceived and bore a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, "I have asked him of the Lord."
On this Memorial Day, please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, whom we have called by many names, in thanksgiving and in anguish. Bless the poets and those who mourn. Send peace for the soldiers who did not make the wars, but whose lives were consumed by them. Let strong trees grow above graves, far from home. Breathe through the arms of their branches. The earth will swallow your tears while the dead sing. No more, never again, remember me. For the wounded ones and those who received them back, let there be someone ready when the memories come, when the scars pull, in the buried metal moves, and forgiveness for those of us who were not there for our ignorance. And in us, veterans in a forest of 1,000 fallen promises, let new leaves of protest grow on our stumps. Give us courage to answer the cry of humanity's pain, and with our bare hands, out of full hearts, with all our intelligence, let us create the peace. Please join me now in the Lord's Prayer. Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Giving to our congregations, it's a prayer. And when we pray with our feet, and we pray with our hands. And may our prayers this morning with our hands give to this congregation, to the life and ministry of Elliott Church. The offering will now be received.
Our next reading is a poem by William Stafford, A Ritual to Read to Each Other. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. For there is many a small betrayal in the mind, a shrug that lets the fragile sequence break, sending with shouts the horrible errors of childhood, storming out to play through the broken dike. And as elephants parade, holding each other's tail, but if one wanders, the circus won't find the park. I call it cruel, and maybe the root of all cruelty, to know what occurs, but not recognize the fact. And so, I appeal to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote, important region in all who talk. Though we could fool each other, we should consider, lest the parade of our mutual life gets lost in the dark. For it is important that awake people be awake, or a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no, or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep.
Please join me now in the responsive reading, number 670 in the gray hymnal. Friend, I have lost the way. The way leads on. Is there another way? The way is one. I must retrace the track. It's lost and gone. Back I must travel back. None goes there, none. Then I'll make here my place. The road runs on. Stand still and set my face. The road leaps on. Stay here, forever stay. None stays here, none. I cannot find the way. The way leads on. O places I have passed, that journey is done, and what will come at last, the way leads on. And please join me in singing Find a Stillness, hymn number 352. Raise your hand if you are suspicious of prayer. Yeah. When I was really little, I spent a lot of time questioning God, and I felt confused by the purpose of prayer. I was deeply suspicious of it, not only because I did not understand it, but because I found it completely useless. Why would I pray if I found myself wondering if there really was a God? As a little kid in a small Hasidic Jewish day school, I was surrounded by rabbis who I thought had all of the answers. Like most children, I asked why, like a broken record. So when I approached my first rabbi, I asked, "Why did you say we have to pray to God?" And the rabbi answered, saying, "That's just what we do. We pray because we have to. God commanded us to pray." I wandered off, saying, "That's silly." With the first rabbi's inadequate answer, I asked another rabbi, who said, "We pray because it makes us a better person and helps us build character." Like many children, I asked once again, "But why?" This patient rabbi tried to stick with it and said, "It is not enough to try to be a better person. We need to pray for it so that God is with us when we work hard to do better." That still did not feel like enough. I asked yet again, "But why?" He said, "It helps us slow down and reflect on who we are, especially when we do it together. Come on now, it is time for us to pray the afternoon prayers. Maybe you'll try." As a young child, I desperately wanted to understand the purpose of prayer and the purpose of praying to God. I remember that feeling of desperation coming from the sense that my peers had it right and I did not. What seemed to come so naturally to them had left me suspicious and unable to get in the spirit of prayer. The thing is that we each might have moments in our lives, if not our whole lives, wondering why we pray. There are times when I am stumbling through the words of the different prayers, where I feel like the words mean nothing to me at all, or when I feel myself moved to tears by them. Prayer is not only the words we say or the music we sing. Prayer can be a bit unconventional. When Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel returned from Selma, someone asked him, "Did you find much time to pray?" Rabbi Heschel responded saying, "I prayed with my feet." By this, he meant his marching, his protesting, his speaking out for civil rights was his greatest prayer of all. In this way, prayer can be imperfect, and prayer can be wise. For him, speaking out was messy. In many ways, Heschel's kind of prayer requires a certain embodiment. It can be engaging in acts of kindness, participating in service projects, serving your church, or greeting newcomers on Sunday morning. Prayer is taking all that we are grateful for and paying it forward. Prayer is speaking truth to power, and I do not mean to God. I mean to the oppressor, to the privileged ones, in the face of or aftermath of acts of violence and war. Prayer is not supposed to be easy, and prayer is not always about God or some other higher power. Prayer is about each one of us doing better and being better. Prayer is not just about words or melodies, though I do think those things help. Without music, my prayer would be restless and ungrounded. Without words, my prayer would lack a compass and direction. I would argue that without that music and without those words, I would not get messy because I would be too focused on the purpose of prayer. I would not be focused on my purpose nor on my next best step. Now, you may or may not be wondering whether Devin, the child, ever got the answers he was looking for. So, I want to share a little bit about what happened next. While I waited for my mom to pick me up following our afternoon prayers, I asked the head rabbi, "Why do we pray to God?" He responded, "Why do you think you pray to God?" The question surprised me. It wasn't an answer, but it was a moment for me to reflect. And I said, "Well, I'm not so sure I believe in God." And this rabbi stroked his beard and nodded and admitted to me that he doesn't always believe in God. I was shocked by this revelation, and I asked, "Well, how do you pray when you don't believe in God?" I remember as he sang a wordless melody, and when I realized that I recognized it, I shouted out, "That's the Shehechianu." He sang the Shehechianu and asked me, "Why do we say the Shehechianu? What is this prayer, this Jewish prayer, about?" I responded, confused and a little apprehensive, saying, "I don't know yet. Why?" And he said it's a prayer for any time we want to appreciate the special moments in our lives. It's about being grateful for right now. You can say it the first time you light Hanukkah candles, or the first time you sit down at the Passover Seder table, but you can also say it when you wear a new outfit for the first time, when you meet a new friend, when you see an old friend for the first time in a while. Remembering what an earlier rabbi said, I asked, "How does it make me a better person?" He smiled, a little bit confused about the question, and said, "Well, because without gratitude, how else would we celebrate ourselves and one another? How would we appreciate the moment we are in?" There are lots of reasons for prayer, and they don't always make sense together. But one might argue that it is good to do because it grounds us in the moment. It celebrates what we have, it mourns what we've lost, and it asks for what we need. Most of all, prayer helps us to be who we need to be for ourselves, our families, our congregations, our community, and our world. I wonder what your purpose for prayer might be. I pray despite being suspicious of prayer because people have been praying for millennia. It brings me comfort to be part of a practice that people like me across centuries heard similar words or sung familiar melodies, that people have taken action. I pray because the prayers don't end when the words or melodies end. I pray because the world needs more than melodies, more than words. I pray because prayer is a messy act of kindness and sometimes an uncomfortable truth to share. So may we remember, may we start with the words and melodies that matter to us. May we move through messy embodied prayer not only on purpose, but with purpose. And may we each find ways to celebrate the sweet, divine mystery that transcends all understanding, so that we too might continue to pray with our feet. May it be so. And let us join together and sing Praise the Source of Faith and Learning in the Gray Hymnal, number 158. hearts and hands and minds renewed to the world that is waiting for you. Go out to that world to bring your gentle touch to those in pain. Go out to feed and house those in need. Go out to speak truth to those with power. Go out with courage to do the work which calls you. Go out now with your passion and faith to change the world.